Welcome back to the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. I am your host, the author of Shut the Hell Up and Sell, Ron L. Richards. And I'm going to get straight into it today. Guys, we started our season, which has been such a fantastic journey. We started it with James Buckley like 6-ish months ago, 6 or 7-ish months ago. And you know, I've just had such a fun time sitting down with so many dynamic sales leaders and business leaders and talking about sales and getting inspired and just getting inspired by their stories and their advice and taking some of their advice and actually using that myself. So it's been such a journey, but all good things must come to an end. Not permanently. We're going to be back for season 2, but we are ending season 1 with a banger, man. We're ending season 1 with my guy, Dale, the Rebel Dupree, my guy. What's going on, dude?
What's up, Ronell? It's so good to just see you. It's been so long, man, but I'm really excited to just sit here and chat, dude. I think this is what we do best as sales leaders, is just sit with other sales leaders and chat. It's my favorite thing to do.
Right? Well, no doubt, like it's been my favorite thing about this. Like, you know, what I've found through the process of doing this podcast, because, you know, I've done the Business and Bourbon podcast for like 5 years and done our podcast for the American Distilling Institute. And like this has been, they're all awesome, but this has been so fulfilling to just catch up and sit down with my peers and my friends. Like everyone that's been on this, first of all, I didn't know that I had so many friends in the game that were killing it, man. But this has been really cool just to have that opportunity to sit and chop it up and soak in that good vibe, that good energy. So, you know, if this is the first episode that you're listening to or you're watching, man, go back and check out the other episodes as well, man. It's just so enriching and so just motivating. So it's a great way to start your day, start your week. We're hitting mid-year, so it's a great, and we're in the summer, which is always like, you know, a little bit of a dip in business. So it's a good way to get yourself back fired up and back motivated. All right, enough of my pontificating. On to my guy, the Rebel. Dale, can you just share with the audience really quick how you are impacting the world of sales? Tell them what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I decided about 4 years ago now to break away from the corporate structure where I was a VP of sales over a big region for a pretty massive organization, globally recognized, publicly traded, to go off on my own and find people that were forgotten, the rebels. They basically search out a community and an audience of folks that are looking to do things so much differently from the perspective of how it is that they sell, to get away from the stereotypes of the things that suck and that we've all been labeled and stamped with in an unruly way, in a way that none of us asked for these labels or these stamps. None of us in this generation, especially, none of us are going out there manipulating people, trying our hardest to take advantage of everybody in regards to the sellers that are rebelling, right? Sure, there's a little piece of that here and there, and there's definitely some bad leadership out there that's like, do whatever it takes to get a sale kind of thing, right? But at the same time, we know at the Rebellion that the majority of salespeople out there lead with a servant's heart, that they're looking to impact people, that they're looking to give experiences instead of just speaking someone's ear off, that they're looking to collaborate, they're looking to create something much bigger than just a transaction at the end of the day. So it's this mindset and identity of what we call choosing legendary in your sales walk. And again, I started this 4 years ago and just have been banging on doors and getting in front of people through social media to tell them about the message and the gospel of the Rebellion and see who will join.
I love it, man. You know, and I love what you're doing. I love your voice. I love what you're doing from a social perspective as well. And I think that it's needed because, there are a lot of sellers out there that want to sell the right way, that care about people, that want to build relationships, but they also feel pressure to do things that are contrary to that because of popular media, because of, you know, bullshit stereotypes and all those sorts of things. So they without voices like yours to help educate them, they're out there on their own and maybe feel pressure to do some of these things that you and I know won't help them to be successful ultimately, but in the long run. But it's this these BS narratives that are out there and stereotypes of what successful sales are. So kudos to you, my guy. Keep doing the great work that you're doing. Loving your TikTok gang too. I've been checking you on TikTok. Good stuff. So tell me where it began for you. What was your very first like sales job? The first job, the first gig you got paid for to sell.
Paid for to sell. I personally believe everybody's in sales, right? So my first gig getting paid for to sell was at Barney's Coffee at 16 years old. I don't even know that you could get a job at 16. I think they just let me in for some reason, right? And maybe Florida had some weird rules, right? But I every day was communicating with people, conversing with people, taking an order from people, but also
Yeah.
convincing them to come back through influence and action, giving them a great
Mm.
experience. And like for me, I noticed that like I would see people over and over again. They'd be like, "Hey Dale," when they'd walk up, and if I remember their order, they felt closer to me. And I started to really, and when I look back, like hindsight, right? In the moment, I never really thought about it as sales necessarily, right? But in hindsight, I see that as like the first gig, right? But then I played music. I played in a band. I toured all over the United States and some other countries as well too. And think about it, every day I was in a strange place with strange people, whether it was 10 people at a random bar in the middle of some place in South Carolina, or it was 1,000 people in the middle of like the Midwest in a city that you didn't even know 1,000 people existed in the first place, and they were all strangers. So here I am walking around a group, in a crowd of people that I don't know anybody, and I have to sell myself literally
Yeah.
and constantly, because these people came to see another band. Most likely they didn't know about this little old band called Imperial out of Orlando, Florida. We weren't even signed in our first tour, right? We did 52 days without having a label backing or anything. So every day I had a backpack on. I'd walk into a crowd of people, introduce myself, get to know them a little bit, pull out a shirt, a CD that we burned, like for real, like back when CDRs were a thing, and say like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we just did a 5-song album. It's an EP. Could I get you to buy it for $5?" Like, kind of like haggling with people and hustling the product, right? To me, like those were the foundations. My first B2B gig was copier sales, and some
Yeah.
people would argue that I went from like easy stuff to the hardest thing, and I would agree with them. The hardest thing that you could possibly sell in the B2B space, because it's so commoditized. It is needed for sure. It is something people need, but it's a race to the bottom in that industry. And when I got into it, it was a extremely fast race to the bottom, like Hussein Bolt race to the bottom, bro. I mean, it was intense. And so I had to learn how to connect with people differently. I had to learn how to be an interruption to the typical patterns people were used to. I had to learn how to not look like a copier sales rep all the time, because if I did, I'd be put into a box. And so it was, bro, it was tough, but I learned a lot of
Yeah.
grit and perseverance through that process, and it made me who I am today.
Man, dude, I can totally identify with that, and I would agree with you with a slight adjustment. So I feel like copier and telecom sales was the most difficult, and I'm a telecom sales guy. That's where it started for me. But the the process of sales and prospecting is the same for those guys. For back in the day, we're knocked a whole lot of doors, made a whole lot of phone calls, got thrown out of a whole lot of buildings. So all those things, man. So there's a common thread that I see with a lot of successful sales leaders, and that is this um, this origin story that starts in the service industry, right? So you're talking about like Barney's Coffee, right? What do you think you learned working at Barney's Coffee that has carried you through your career and helped you to be a good seller?
So I learned a really valuable lesson. And number one, that corporate America sucks. That was the first thing that I learned. And so I actually stayed away from corporate America for the most part because of it. Like for most of my career, I got sucked into it toward the end of it, thinking, oh, well, maybe I can change it, right? Like, and not to say that people can't, right? But look, that's a pipe dream, in my opinion, just from being in it deeply and understanding like where power is held and what board of directors look like. And it's intense, right? But the second thing they taught me is, here, I'll give you a really specific lesson instead of just the generics. I'm sitting every morning. I'm sitting in that Barney's Coffee on Wednesdays. I opened. So every morning
Mhm.
on Wednesdays, I always had to get there about 6 a.m. Had to get everything prepped to be open by 7, and it was just in the mall. So the mall didn't even open until 8, and so you could come through like with this one door to come and get your coffee, or you worked there, and you were in and you were
Yeah.
coming to get your coffee. So there was this Armenian guy, and I remember him like. like yesterday, bro. I actually I kept a relationship with him after I left the organization, after I left Barney's and was touring in my band. I would actually stop by. He owned a jewelry store in the mall, and I would stop by and see him and say hi every once in a while. So we had a pretty good relationship. But man, he came in one day in the morning and he said, "This is what I'd like," and I made it for him. And he took a sip as he was walking away, and he was like, "This is amazing." He's like, "Are you sure you got me the right stuff? Like, what'd you do to this?" And it was just I would just made him an espresso shot, right? Like I made him an espresso
Yeah.
shot. He wanted a drip of cold 2% milk in it or something ridiculous like that. And I did exactly. I like went and got a little like. I mean, the whole nine. I think most people would probably hear what he was saying and just like not take good care of him, right? Just be like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
just pour a little shot here and boop. And I was like meticulous about what he was asking for. He wanted it a certain temperature. He is like, not too hot. I hate it when it's too hot. He said these things to me and I listened and I went and did it. And he had turned around and made that comment to me. And he stood there and talked to me for a hot minute. And then he reached in his wallet on his way out and he opened it up and I saw $900, right? And he pulled $100 bill out and he handed it directly to me and said, "Don't put this in the tip jar. This is for you." And I remember thinking, in hindsight, when I got older, like what drives that, right? What did I connected with this guy? I took very good care of him. I listened to him very intently, and then I took pride in what it was that I was giving him as the result that he desired. And because of that, I get $100 extra on top of what this guy
Yeah.
was spending with me. So it really helped me to understand what is true value worth, and ultimately how does it affect people when you can be somebody that seeks to serve and not just somebody that's like doing a job, but somebody that
Yeah.
really wants to connect with your purpose through your actions. And look, like
Hmm.
making coffee is definitely something that is an art. At the end of the day, a lot of people look at it as like this commoditized thing, or like, it's just a coffee shop, or like it's an art, bro. I mean, I'm drinking a
Heck yeah.
delicious coffee right now in a delicious coffee shop that I found. I think you share that with me, but a lot of the time we corporatize these things. We create this status quo and mediocre mentality in the way that even that we teach people how to prepare a cup of coffee. But if you could just put a little bit of passion and you'll have guys dropping you $100. And here's the thing, every Wednesday, bro, every Wednesday, I worked there for about 6, 7 months. Every Wednesday when I opened up, he came through and I got $100 from this guy. Don't tell Barney's because they'd probably be pissed off that I was making $400 extra in cash per month put it in my pocket, right? But like, man, this man, he not only did he help me, right, in the
Wow.
moment, but he helped me financially in general, bro. I was making like $7 an hour. And then he was giving
Yeah.
me $400 in cash that I had additionally to manage. So I had to learn how to like save that money and how to be a good steward of that money and how to get more of it essentially. Now he was the only person that was doing it, right? But in my head, I thought I could probably get I could probably get more people to spend money with me. And so
Yeah.
selling copiers was that was it, bro. When I was in copiers, it was like this clicks. And I will say, just for the audience, I used to get beers with three people: furniture sales guy, a moving and storage person, an IT salesperson, and a telecommunications person. And
Yeah.
I believed that we were all in the hardest industries to sell door to door, 100%. And the telecom people, forget about it, bro. I mean, like I saw a deal one time where this guy lost because of 26 cents. Like for real,
Yeah.
I thought to myself, like that is insane. So
Yeah.
sales is hard, right? It's hard, but at the same time, like it is the most rewarding thing in the world, and it doesn't have to. You don't have to say that it's hard for you. You can just acknowledge that it can be hard sometimes, right? It is not that difficult for sellers to get to a place where sales becomes art mixed with science, mixed with passion, and ultimately gives them the outcomes they desire. And you stop saying this is hard.
Man, so couple things. First, you know, here, when you do it the right way, it gets easy. That's the one thing. Like I hope that people can take one of the things I hope they can take away from our stories and and the hard sales that we did. Like when you focus on service, like you're talking about, when you focus on relationship building, it actually gets easy. It can be hard at first building up, but it's sales is like any business. Building a business is hard at first, right? There's a metrics part of it. There's a lot of door knocking. There's a lot of phone calls. But when you go start down the road of providing service and making impact, it gets easier. It gets easier because you start building community, because you start getting referrals, because you start getting bigger share of wallet, those sorts of things. Now, what I loved about your story is that it reminds me of in the book I share a story about the gold watch, and it was a 15-minute encounter with a gentleman that changed my whole philosophy on business and sales. So what I love about your story is it's very similar in the fact that this guy wasn't an official like mentor for you. He wasn't like, okay, let's sit down, Dale, and talk about your life and your business. But he made such a profound impact on your philosophy on how to serve and how to do business just by giving you a tip, right? It was a big tip, but just by giving you a tip. And so, man, it just speaks to the power of mentorship and even in such a small sample size on how impactful it can be for you guys out there listening. What sort of impact can you make today with someone like that? Maybe I don't know if you want to give $100 tips, maybe, but there are things that you can do that could make a profound impact on someone, which leads me to my next question for you, Dale. So, like, you know, because inspired by the Gold Watch story, I always like to have our guests share an unsung hero. And this is someone that made an impact in your life, right? This is someone that probably doesn't even know that they did. You just gave me a great one, but someone that maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's basically, a mentor, someone that provided you some mentorship, provided you some leadership, provided you some coaching, either big or small, that impacted your philosophy on sales and business.
Yeah, anybody that knows me, bro, knows that I have to answer this question the same way that I always do, which is, and Armand was, he is a great example, right? The guy that gave me $100, right? He's a great example, but yeah, I have a lot of examples like that. And Jordan, I have tons of them. I could go down the list, my man. Like Rich Johnson was a huge impact on me, but I gotta sing my praise to my father, bro. Yeah, my dad. Not only did my dad like he literally birthed me into small business and entrepreneurship by opening a company 1 year before I was born, and then like making it a point to involve me in that company and allow me to be a part of that company and spend time with him in that business and learn it. Like, bro, there was days I shouldn't have been doing this, right? But there was days when I was like sitting with the bookkeepers and like helping them write the checks, like, and I say I shouldn't be doing this, but like I actually like more people should be doing that, right? At the end of the day, it's just looked at as like, what are you? Why your kid's not going to learn anything from doing that, or they're too young, they're 8, they're 9, they're 10. My dad saw it as like an opportunity to really teach me what business was like through this perspective and identity of being able to watch him develop his own business and then be a part of it and like not just from the outside looking in or like being the owner's son, right? It was a bigger
Yeah.
picture perspective that he gave me to the whole concept of what entrepreneurial work was and how it ties into sales. Like ownership of the things that you do is what sales is. Ownership of the identity of the freedom that you want to achieve is what sales is. Your time, your money, your family, your friendships, your hobbies. It is like that's what freedom is. Ultimately, it's a lot of things, but it's driven by this identity of the number one asset in your life, which is yourself and your ability to be able to make money, and which in turn allows you to then do a lot of things, right? But at the same time too, as I watched my dad like build a successful business, the best lesson that he taught me, without a doubt, was that my dad was home every day at 5:30, right, latest, right, 6 o'clock, right, every freaking day, bro. Shoot hoops with me when he got there. He'd take a quick shower at some point, eat dinner with my mom, right? Intentionally spend time with her, like right in front of all of his kids. He'd give her a big old kiss on the lips. He'd read out of his Bible to her. He was so intentional with this woman and with our family and with the time that he
Wow.
gave us. And for real, I watched him in certain instances, even like with working with him, I watched him where like we had a lot of work to do at the office, but the thing that was more important to him always was his family. And he'd look at the
Hmm.
clock and be like, "It's 5 o'clock. We have to go." That's how he rolled. And now look, the thing is too is that I also remember waking up as a kid like at 13, 14 to like sneak out of the house and do some like shady shit like that, and seeing my dad's computer laptop on at 1 in the morning, right? 12 in the morning, and him working, bro, him shutting down at 5 to spend intentional time with his family, to then get back onto his laptop to continue forward his obligations and the things that he was making promises to. And dude, that it like impacted my life so heavily. And my dad was so happy. And when he died in 2016, which is the saddest day of my life up until now, it was incredible. I hate to even describe it that way. At the time, it was the most devastating thing that ever happened to me, and it still is. But the moments in that funeral were incredible, bro. When I looked out for the first time at the crowd of people, bro, and it was like going to a music concert for your favorite band. There was 1,000 people plus in this room. Could have easily been a couple thousand in this room that fit 900, bro. There were people on laps, people standing up against the wall, lined out the back. I mean, just literally there to say goodbye, to pay
Wow.
respects. And the best part is that you get all these stories when someone passes away, right? I'd heard from some of his friends from high school. I met some people that I'd never known from his college days. Just it was cool. But you want to know the number one story that I heard, bro? Is I heard
What's
people come
that?
up to me and say, "Hey, man, I met you when you were this tall. Your dad sold me my first copier." That was the story, bro. The stories were always the majority derived from this identity of that my dad sold these people a copy machine. But they would tell me stories about how he changed their perspective on things through this influence of them wanting to understand more about him, just through their literal communication and buying something from him. Just like, this guy's different. This guy thinks differently. He acts differently. He is different. I like this. I want to be a part of this. I want to have something of this in my life outside of just like the transaction itself. And people expressed that to me and said that they're so grateful for the way that he taught them to look at their own businesses in some instances, their own relationships with their families in some instances. And I mean, it was wild, dude. And so, man, my unsung hero is always going to be my dad, the number one seller in my book and the number one man in my life.
Man, what a beautiful experience and story, man. I think though, for me, as I hear that, like surely it was, tragic moment for you and your family and everyone that loved your dad, but like, wow, just the impact that he made, right? Like, as I hear that story, like, it's fantastic that you were able to experience that, right, and see that, like, with all these people that came and showed love, but I can't help but think, like, damn, what's just shitty about that is that he couldn't experience that in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like him seeing that, because I think we think about all the stuff that we put out in the world, right? All the things that we do to try to help and to serve, and that's the ultimate moment of people like, man, acknowledging that, dude, you made a difference. You mattered. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the only thing as I hear your story, I'm like, God damn, just like, man, if was there to feel that what you felt, you know?
I got one for you, bro. Check this. About three, four, no, it was 2011. So 5 years before he passed away, I'm sitting at his office, at our office at the time, because I was pretty engaged at that point. I'm sitting in the office and somebody from the Chamber of Commerce comes by. Sorry, scratch it. It's 2009. It was right before we had moved to the new office, right? So the economy was collapsing. Everything was sucking balls, right? Like it was terrible. And we're moving and I'm packing stuff up. And this person from the Chamber of Commerce comes by in Titusville, which is where my dad's business was. And the story behind that is even more incredible. Just my dad's walk is just such an amazing thing. People think Titusville, I'm like, let me tell you, right? But that's what's so amazing about my father is that most of the things that he did were so purposeful and so intentional. So this person walks in and they go, "Hey, is Curtis here?" And I say, "I'm his son. He's not here, but I'm his son. Can I help you?" "Yeah, sure. We've been trying to get a hold of him. He missed his dinner, and we have this plaque for him." And I thought to myself, what? That doesn't sound like my dad at all, right? Miss a dinner? You got a plaque. What's this? And they handed me this box and they just said, "We just want to get it to him." And he doesn't pick up our calls or respond to our emails. I'm just like, what is happening right now? Right. So I opened up this box, bro, and the plaque on the inside is like an award from these people. And it's like basically for all of your contributions to our community. And so this is the part about the rebellion even that like honors my father is that we believe that you should choose legendary in all facets of your life, from professional to personal to private. And I don't think a lot of people think about that last one enough. that this is that my dad's private life, bro, is something that he chose legendary in. That my dad didn't want the recognition of the things that he privately did for the community. He wanted no recognition for it, bro. He just wanted to bless people and for them to feel empowered, to feel worthy, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel loved. And I put this thing right on his desk, and I just thought, like, what a story this is going to be, right? Bro, he comes to the office. I hadn't seen him all day. I come in around 4 o'clock, and I'm looking at his desk, and the plaque's gone. And I'm like, "Where's the plaque?" He's like, "Huh?" Like the award. I put it on your desk. He's like, "Oh, it's over there." And he points to the corner of the office, and it's like sitting on top of a box, like laid down. I was like, "Why would you do that?" And man, my dad was so epic, bro. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm grateful for the award. I don't want it." And then he said, and I'll tell you why, because in your life, you're going to have a lot of choices privately where you can either do the right thing or the wrong thing. And you should never be seeking, that's what he said, some type of recognition for doing the right thing ever. It should
Mm,
just be the automatic go to that you do in your life. And I hope this is a good lesson and that toward you, bro. I went I went home that night and I cried in the car on the way home, feeling this mixed bag of
really?
emotions about things that were happening in my own life. And it changed me, bro. It like my dad changed me so many times in my own life from that perspective, that I believe that he felt the things that you were just saying. Because I've said it, even like I've said almost exactly verbatim what you said, but over the course of the last 6+ years, 7 years now, um, that I have grieved and mourned him, bro, I've come to realize that he got it. He 100% got the recognition, but he never, and he had the feeling, but he never wanted it, bro.
Wow. Wow. Man, that just became so clear to me. So, like, that moment at the end, you guys needed that. You needed that. He didn't need it.
That's it, dude.
Wow, that's powerful.
You know, you'll like
Dude,
this
so
too,
many
Ronell. Somebody told me afterwards, like 2 months later, another one of our family friends passed away, and we went to the same place to honor this person that was a good friend of mine throughout my life. Very young, very tragic death. And a woman came up to me, and that was in my family. Her name was Trish Moran. I say the names because I think it's so important to recognize the people that help you in your life. She walked
yeah.
right up to me, bro, and she said this, which is exactly what you were just saying. Like, we needed this, right? She goes, I just want to tell you, the eulogy that you gave at your dad's funeral was so incredibly honoring. She said, I didn't know how you got through it at first. She said, but then as I sat there weeping and closed my eyes and opened them again, and I saw your father standing with you,
Mm,
knowing that this was something you needed. It was intense. Like, she hit me right in the gut when she said that. And it woke me up. It woke me up. And it made me say, man, like, it sucks that we have to sometimes get and have our awakenings in some of the worst moments of our lives. But
yeah.
it would be a tragedy to look at it any other way than what it was meant to be for us in our lives. And that's what I encourage people around this topic is, like, don't run away from what it's really meant to be for you. Don't It's okay to be sad, it's okay to grieve, it's okay to mourn, it's okay to not be happy, that and be a little angry that you lost your best friend, if you did like I did, and your mentor. But you got to honor them and what really it is that you needed to learn from those moments at the end of the day, or else the rest of your life will be kind of tragic and a little lackluster and a little bit less than what you could ultimately make it to be.
Man. So first, thank you for your vulnerability, man, and thanks for sharing that with us. So many just amazing life takeaways, and business and sales, it's life. It's part of the life experience at the end of the day. So I got so many great things out of that story, and your dad's mentorship to you, his perspective on business, his perspective on life, his perspective on service. And man, if you can follow in those footsteps, you can't help but to be successful, folks. Man, I love it. Okay, wow, that's a hard one to segue away from, but but we got to. I got to hit you with my last question, man. Cause, all right. So my last question for you is, I want to leave the audience. We've got some fantastic takeaways and some life advice in this, but this is the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. So I'd like you to share a piece of just practical, simple, tactical advice that someone can take from this and apply to their business, and whatever you want, man.
Well, let's do it. So the rebels out there that are part of our community and the people that follow me already know this, but I'm a very creative person. It's part of like my existence in music. It's part of my existence, period, right? Like even wandering the halls of my father's business. Yeah, I was like a place of wonder for me. I was constantly like imagining the sea of dead copy machines that, were going back to the leasing partner, to the junkyard, to be like a big boat that I like moved around in the office to like walk through. And it was a life was always a big adventure for me, and having things like my father's business to kind of be able to segue the way that I look at my personal life and my business life, right, was super accommodating to who I've become and the success that I've had. And so what I would tell people is that, as actionable advice, is that creativity is the number one piece of the puzzle that most of you are missing. And here's the thing, is that most people would say something like, I'm just not that creative. Right. They hear stories about me, especially like hiring caroling companies to sing to prospects during Christmas, or dropping golf balls out of helicopters at tournaments. And they hear stories that like, what in God's name? How did you do these things? Stu Heineck is one of my silent mentors and the goat of contact marketing, right? And was a big influence in my life when I was younger. And so I just took the ideas out of his book and said, even then I said, and I was, really just setting myself up for the mentality, which is what I want people to think about in their own mindset, is that I said, this stuff's basic. Even though it was incredible, I said, this stuff's basic. I have to do better, and challenge myself to think so much bigger than what it was that everybody was doing. And some of the stuff that I came up with would be looked at as basic. Like we have this direct mail campaign as an example that we send out. That's 4 to 5 touches, but it sets people appointments with billion-dollar companies on the third touch. You know, after a couple phone calls, couple emails, and the third thing that comes in the mail, boom, and it's an appointment unlike you've ever experienced. So my actionable item for all the sales reps, all the sales leaders, anybody that's listening, is to be more creative in your approach. And the number one way that you can do that is to step into discomfort and take a risk. The biggest risk and discomfort that exists right now for B2B teams is direct mail, in my opinion, like I was just talking about. So we do things like send books written by our prospects. We send wallets that are like the logo of the account. It's got a driver's license that's them. So it's like Ronell. I send it to you, and I'm like, hey man, we haven't closed this deal yet. I haven't heard from you, and I figured you might need your wallet to get this done. Yeah, I think you lost it.
Yeah,
It's probably why I haven't heard from you. Like we do so
funny.
many creative, epic things, and it's all based on this direct mail approach. There's some great companies out there where you can just kind of buy into things that people are already doing. But this is what I would tell people. I tell people to write a letter. Okay, this is the first time I've ever done it this way outside of my circles, by the way. So final episode of Shut the Hell Up and Sell. We're going big. I want you to write a letter, handwritten note. Hey Dale, and then I want you to put in the contents. I crumpled up this letter because you're going to throw it away anyway. It's just sales trash, like the rest of the marketing and sales garbage you get. However, if you'll take a minute to keep reading, I think you might find something you'll like. I want you to use 3 bullet points in that letter that say, here are the 3 things that I can help you fix in your business. I want you to have some fun with it, right? So, like as an example, when we sell to sales teams, one of our bullet points is your reps have a harder time finding net new accounts than they do finding Waldo in a candy cane factory, right? Use some humor, use some pop culture, use some things
Yeah,
that will relate to people, and then sign it off with your
be
name. And then
human.
I want you to take that letter and crumble it up into a ball, uncrumple it, tri-fold it so it fits in an envelope, and send it to your prospect and set an appointment. That's the most actionable advice I could give to anybody out there. Because listen, let's just say you and 9 other sales reps are calling on the same account. Who do you think they're going to meet with when you do that? Or at least acknowledge, like at the very least, like let's hear from them, right? And if we
Yeah.
just start thinking in more creative ways around attention,
Hmm.
around emotional context, around disrupting the typical patterns, and not in the generic status quo way that guys like or companies like Sandler have created, in rebellious ways that speak to the heart of the human. They get past
Yeah.
the noise of business, right? Nothing clever, right? As we like to say, or gimmicky. Like, let's go straight for the throat. Tell people, hey, this thing's crumpled up because you hate salespeople. Everybody does, right? There's nothing gimmicky about that. That's the truth. Speak the truth to people. Be creative. Set some appointments. Be a rebel, and that's the best advice I can give.
I love it, man. I love it. Thanks for that, guys. Let's see how many crumpled letters get sent out there. It's not that hard, man. Follow the direction. Dale, this has been amazing, and I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on and do this and to close out this season with me. So I want to wholeheartedly, sincerely thank you, and thank you, Curtis. Shout out to Curtis, man, for being the inspiration for you and and giving you the motivation to inspire so many others out there. So he lives on through you and all the Rebel Nation, man. Um, as we close out, guys, I want to shout out all of our guests. Before we do that, though, um, let's tell the folks how they can join the Rebel Nation, man. How can they reach out to you? How can they join your community?
Easy ones. The salesrebellion.com. Jump in there, head over to resources for our free Slack channel. Hit us up for any other needs that you might have that the website talks about. You can find crumpled letters there as well, and our whole Rebel Letter campaign. But really, I would encourage people to just jump in our social channels too. It's like at Sales Rebellion for the company, on any social platform, or at Dale Rebel Leader, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And then on LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/in/copier warrior. Come consume our content. Come get involved in what it is that we're putting out. Come share ideas. Come learn more about what it is that we do. We post daily. We have a lot of fun with what it is that we're putting out there, and we look forward to anybody that hears the calling of the rebellion.
And guys, of course, this that information will be in the show notes as well. So you can click on Dale's links. But yeah, and again, shout out to your embracing of TikTok and the TikTok game. I'm seeing your creativity on that, man, and it's fun.
Times, good times.
Well, hey guys, as we start to close this season, again, this is just the season. We'll be back at it with new episodes. I want to shout out all of our guests that have joined us. So I want to thank Ryan Fox, Gary Furman, Jackie Steinberg, Christy Jones, Keenan, John Barrows, Carol Mahoney, Zach Messler, Roy Kowarski, Leslie Venitz, Mary Henderson. We got a long list. And Roderick Jefferson, Marlon Addison, Derek Strokon, Doug Lehman, Stephen Stoll, Ashley Rowland, Cameron Scott, Jason Cutter, Ken Lundeen, Michael Maher, Sharina Kushner, Rob Napoli, Wes Lean, Adam Peak, the pastor of the packaging pastor, and Eric Brooker, Sander Bean, and lastly, our first guest, which was James Buckley. Say what sells. And then bookending with my guy, Dale, the rebel leader, Dupree. Thank you, my friend. And most importantly, thank you guys for being on this journey with us. Thank you for gifting us your time, for watching, listening, however you're consuming. I appreciate it. Although I would encourage you to watch it because there's a whole nother level. So you can always watch on Spotify or YouTube. You can get the full video content. But again, I thank you guys, the audience, for being part of this journey. I would encourage you to watch our previous episodes. Let me know what you think about this. If we're hitting the mark, let us know. If we're missing the mark, let us know. Because at the end of the day, this is all about being in service to you guys. So I want to make sure that we're creating content, producing content that makes an impact, and follows that lead of Curtis Dupree. All right, my friend. I appreciate you, brother. Uh, to all the rest of you, we'll see you again soon. Mr. Dupree, hey, if they don't remember anything else from this episode, which I don't know how they couldn't, you hit every single button. But if they don't remember anything else, listen, folks, remember this: Shh. Say less. Sell more. Peace out. Hey guys, it's Ronell, and I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode of the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. If you liked it, please rate us 5 stars on whichever podcasting platform you're listening to this on. And while you're at it, punch that subscribe button. That way you get notified every time we drop a brand new episode. Hey, I'd also appreciate it if you went to our website, shutthehellupandsell.com, and became a member. It's absolutely free, and you'll have the opportunity to listen to previous episodes of our podcast, check out some of our free courses, get a copy of the book, and we'll send you sales tips and motivational nuggets from time to time. Lastly, if you'd like to book me for either appearances or speaking engagements, just send an email to my team at team@shutthehellupandsell.com.